All right, today we're going to be factoring quadratic expressions. Factoring quadratic expressions. And factoring is rewriting an expression as a product of its factors. So look, if you're given something like x plus 4 times x plus 2. X plus 4 times x plus 2. X plus 4 is a binomial. X plus 2 is a binomial. You have two binomials here. Well, you've learned in the past to either use the FOIL method or use the distributive property twice to multiply these two binomials. So if you had x plus 4 times x plus 2, you would multiply your x times x, and you would get x squared. Then you would multiply your x times your positive 2, and you'd get positive 2x. Then you would multiply the 4 times the x, and you would get positive 4x. And you would multiply the 4 times this 2, and you would get a positive 8. And then you would combine your like terms here in the middle, and you would get x squared plus 6x plus 8. And the x squared plus 6x plus 8 would be the product of x plus 4 times x plus 2. Well, what you're going to be doing this week and starting today is you're going to be given this trinomial. And you're going to be asked to factor it and write it in this form. Okay? So when you're doing that, I'm going to show you some techniques that you can use, but you're always keeping in mind that you're going to be rewriting a trinomial as the product of two binomials. All right? And what I want you to look at right here in this problem is, do you see how this x plus 4 times x plus 2 equaled x squared plus 6x plus 8? If you look at this 8 right here at the end, this 8 and this 8, this 8 came from this 4 times this 2. All right? Right here in this step, we multiplied 4 times 2, and we got positive 8. And look what this 6x came from right here. This 6x came from a 2x plus a 4x. All right, which was this 4 times x, which was the 4x, and it was this x times 2, which was a 2x. And I'm using a lot of words here, but what I'm trying to get you to understand is that when you're factoring a trinomial and this a value in front of the x squared is a 1, what you're looking for is two numbers that multiply to 8, but they add to positive 6. multiply to 8, add to positive 6. And that's how factoring works. So now what we're going to do is we're going to factor. And we're going to start off and we're going to factor x squared plus 9x plus 20. All right. And when we factor x squared plus 9x plus 20, we are going to break this down into two binomials. And when this first term in the trinomial is just x squared, then this is an x and this is an x. The second part, you're trying to find two numbers that multiply to 20 but add to 9. Two numbers that multiply to 20 and add to 9. All right? So I used to teach this as you write a list of the factors of 20 because you need the factors of 20 that add to 9. So you got a 1 and a 20. They won't add to 9. And then you've got a 2 and a 10, but they don't add to 9. And then you've got a 4 times a 5 equals 20, and 4 plus 5 equals 9. So there's your factors, okay? You got a 4 and you got a 5. And since everything in the trinomial is positive, then both of these factors are positive. So your factors of 20 that added to 9 were 4 and 5. Let's try x squared plus 14x minus 72. All right, again, your first term in your trinomial is x squared, so you're going to factor this. Your two binomials are going to both start with x. And now we're looking for factors of negative 72. All right, so the factors of 72, we got a 1 and a 72. And we got a 2 and a 36. And I don't know if 3 goes into 72. Maybe it does. 24 times. We got a 3 and a 24. And then we got a 4 and an 18. Now, as you're listing these factors of 72, you're looking for a combination that can get you to a 14. And here it is, the 4 and the 18. With a 4 and an 18, you can get to 14. And with a 4 times an 18, you can multiply to 72. Now you need to be careful with your signs. So we go 4 and we go 18. Now, since we're going to add these two, this 4 to this 18 to get a positive 14, this 18 needs to be positive and the 4 needs to be negative. So those are your two factors of x squared plus 14x minus 72. All right, in this trinomial, where your a value is -1, when your a value is -1, the first thing you want to do is factor out a -1. So we're going to take out a -1 first. And then we've got x squared minus 13x plus 12. And now we're going to factor this, what's in parentheses on the right, just like we did the other trinomials. So we're going to list the factors of 1 and 12 that can combine to a 13 or add to a 13. So the factors of 1 and 12 are 1 and 12. And you can stop, because with a 1 and a 12, you can get to a 13. So we take -1 We're going to factor this into two binomials. We can use the 1 and we can use the 12. Now, when they are multiplied, they need to multiply to positive 12. And when they are added, they need to add to negative 13. So in that case, both of these need to be negative. Negative 1 times negative 12 gives you a positive 12. And negative 1 plus negative 12 gives you a negative 13. X squared, let's try x squared. Plus 14x plus 40. So since our a is positive, we can go right to the two sets of parentheses. And we can put an x at the beginning of each. We're looking for factors of 40 that will add up to 14. So I start with 1 and 40, 2 and 20. 3 doesn't go into 40, but 4 goes 10 times. And there's your combo. So since everything is positive, we can use a 4 and we can use a 10. And positive 4, positive 10. Y'all get the idea? When a is positive 1. Let's try one more. We got x squared minus 11x plus 30. There's your double parentheses. Your a value is positive 1, so we go x here and x here. And we start listing the factors of 30, which are 1 and 30. Those don't combine to an 11. 2 and 15 don't combine to an 11. 3 and 10 do not combine to an 11. 4 doesn't go. 5 and 6 are factors of 30. 5 times 6 is 30, and 5 plus 6 is 11. You just need to be careful with your signs. So here's your factors, 5 and 6. They have to multiply to positive 30, but add to negative 11. So in this case, they both have to be negative. All right, so is everybody okay with factoring a trinomial when this a value is either negative 1 or positive 1? All right, now we're going to take some expressions and we are going to find the common factors. And we are going to write the expression in factored form. We're going to write the expression in factored form, and the first expression is 6n squared plus 9n. All right, when we're factoring here, we're trying to pull out the greatest common factor. The greatest common factor here, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at these numbers. And we're going to find the greatest factor of 6 and 9. We're looking for the largest number that goes into 6 and 9 evenly. And that's going to be a 3. And then we're looking for the largest n that'll go into n squared and n evenly. And that is just an n. So we have factored a 3n out of each of these terms. Now we need what goes in the parentheses. So if you take 6n squared and you divide it by 3n, it gives you the first term inside the parentheses. So 6 divided by 3 is 2. And n squared divided by n is n. And if this sign is positive, then we write a positive. And then we take 9 divided by 3, which is 3. And since our n divided by n is equal to 1, we don't do anything else. We're done. So the factored form of 6n squared plus 9n is equal to 3n times 2n plus 3. And you can always check these, because if you just take your factored form now and you do the distributive property, 3n times 2n is 6n squared. And 3n times 3 is a positive 9n. So as long as you can do the distributive property at the end and get an expression that you started with, then you have factored correctly. Let's try 4x squared plus 20x plus 20x minus 56. All right, when you're looking at this trinomial and you see a 4 and a 20 and a 56, you always want to ask yourself, is there something common to all of those numbers? Is there a common factor? All right, well, 4 goes into 4, and 4 goes into 20, and 4 goes into 56. All right, so the first thing you can do in this problem is you can factor out a 4. So if we take a 4 out of this trinomial, inside the parentheses we get x squared, we get a plus 5x, and we get a minus, I don't know what, 56 divided by 4. It's 14. All right, and now the next step here to finish this up would be to factor the x squared plus 5x minus 14. So we're looking for, we're going to have 4 times a binomial times another binomial. Now in the parentheses, our a value is positive 1, so we get an x and an x. And we're looking for factors of 14 that add to 5. So we got a 1 and a 14, and we got a 2 and a 7. And that's it. So your 2 and your 7 is what you're going to use. So you got a 2 and you got a 7. Now, since this 5 has to be positive, this 7 has to be positive. The 2 is what needs to be negative. Because negative 2 times positive 7 is negative 14. And negative 2 plus positive 7 is positive 5. So there's your factored form. Let's try 9x squared plus 9x minus 18. 9x squared plus 9x minus 18. All right, everything in this trinomial is divisible by 9. So we factor a 9 out first. And then 9x squared divided by 9 is x squared. 9x divided by 9, that's just a positive x. And then negative 18 divided by 9, that's negative 2. So now we're going to break the trinomial down into two binomials. And there's only two factors of 2. You got a 1 and you got a 2. You just have to be careful with the signs here. All right, so since this x is positive, then the larger of your factors needs to be positive. So this 2 needs to be positive. This 1 needs to be negative. Because negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. And negative 1 plus 2 is positive 1. So there's your factored form of x squared plus x minus 2. Any questions there? All right, so in everything so far that we've factored, our a value, our number in front of the x squared, has been 1. Now we're going to factor when we are going to be doing this. We're going to factor ax squared plus bx plus c when a is not equal to 1. All right, this a value now is not going to be equal to 1 when we break this trinomial into two binomials. So here's what we're going to factor. We're going to start with 2x squared plus 11x plus 12. Now, the best way to factor a trinomial that's not, or the best way to factor a trinomial when a is not equal to 1, we're going to draw a little table. It's going to look like this. This table is going to help us factor 2x squared plus 11x plus 12. All right? We don't use this box at the table right here. It's just a filler. But what goes in the first box of this column and in the second box of this row? These two places, here and here. Whatever goes in there has to multiply to 2x squared. Has to multiply to 2x squared. So there's only two things you can multiply to 2x squared, and that's a 2x and an x. Now look, your 2x times your x goes here. That's your 2x squared. Now, here's where you got to do a little bit of forward thinking. Now you're looking for this and this. These two values in the blue box have to multiply to positive 12. Okay? These two have to multiply to positive 12. But these two boxes added together, have to add to your positive 11x. So this becomes a trial and error at times. All right? So we need 4 and 3. I'm thinking of 4 and 3. If we put a 4 here and a 3 here, look what happens when we fill in this table. You see this x in green times this 3 in blue. That gives us 3x. And this 4 in blue times this 2x in green gives us an 8x. And 3x plus 8x equals the 11x. So we're good so far. And then the 3 in blue times the 4 in blue gives us a 12 in blue. And that's the 12 right there we're looking for. So since everything is positive, all of our factors are going to be positive. So look, we take the 2x in green and the 3 in blue, and we rewrite it like this, 2x plus 3. We take the x in green and the 4 in blue, and we write it as a binomial, x plus 4. So there's your factored form of 2x squared plus 11x plus 12. Questions? Let's try 4x squared. Or actually, let's do 2x squared minus 7x plus 6. 2x squared minus 7x plus 6. All right, again, if this leading term is 2x squared, we can do a 2x and an x. Because the 2x times the x is 2x squared. Now we need factors of 6. Okay? Factors of 6 in these blue boxes. So if you think of your factors of 6, you got 1 and 6, you got 2 and 3, and you got 3 and 2. Some of this will take some trial and error. So let's try the 1 and 6. See what happens. You know you get a 6 down here in the bottom right. But look, if you go 2x times 1, no, these are going to end up working. I was trying to show you one that wouldn't work. But 2x times 1 is what? 2x. Maybe this won't work. And what's your 6 times your x? 6x. So if you combine a 6x and a 2x, can you ever get a 7x? No. So do you see how the 1 and the 6 won't work? So now, unfortunately, don't push real hard with your pencil because you're going to be doing a lot of erasing. All right, the 1 and the 6 don't work. So let's try the 2 and the 3. And I'm going to do the 2 here and the 3 here. So 2x times 2, there's a 4x. 3 times the x is a 3x. With a 3x and a 4x, can I get to a 7x? Yes. I can. And with a 3 times a 2, do I get a 6? Okay. So we got the correct numbers in here now. Here's where your signs are real important. this 3x needs to be negative, doesn't it? And this 4x needs to be negative. So this, well, no, this needs to be negative, and this needs to be negative. Right? Because look, x times negative 3 is negative 3x. 2x times negative 2 is negative 4x. Your negative 3x and your negative 4x is your negative 7x. And your negative 3 times your negative 2 is your positive 6. So your factors are going to be 2x minus 3 and x minus 2. Make sense? All right, let's try 4x squared minus 4x minus 3. This is where it gets a little bit more fun, because when you draw your table now, you can't automatically determine your first factors, can you? Because this 4x squared could be 2x times 2x, or it could be 4x times 1x. Agreed? Good. So I'm going to try I'm going to try a 2x and a 2x. And my 2x times 2x is my 4x squared. 1 and 3. If I go 1 and I go 3, my 1 times my 3 is 3. 2x times 1x is 2x. And 2x times 3 is 6x. It's going to work, I think. We need a negative 3, though. And we need a negative 4. So in order to get a negative 4 with a 2x and a 6x, this 6 has got to be negative. So that right there has got to be negative. And if that 6x has to be negative, this 3 has to be negative. This 2x needs to be positive right here. And this 3 needs to be negative. So this is going to work, because the 1 times the negative 3 is negative 3. Positive 2x and negative 6x is negative 4x. So here's your factors. You've got 2x plus 1 and 2x minus 3. These boxes, again, I can't reiterate enough how you need to not push real hard on your pencil. Or if you're using pen, be prepared to draw a lot of boxes. A lot of these worked out real easy for me. I got lucky. But sometimes you have to try a 4x and an x and a 3 and a 1 and then a 1 and a 3. And you need to go through all of those factors to realize that 4x and x won't work. So you junk the whole 4x and the x. And you got to go back and you got to do your 2x and your 2x. Okay? And you got to find the right combination of numbers and signs to complete your table, which allows you to determine your binomial factors. Anybody got any questions on factoring any of those trinomials? All right, then your assignment for today. I got a handout for you. You Zoom people, in the resources tab, I posted a PDF file that has these practice problems on it. So on page 221, Today you're doing problems 23 through 46. 23 through 46. And be sure that you check focus for homework.